I find that when I sit down to write something bright, a little shadow creeps in. When I sit down to write something shadowy, a little light creeps in. Something ordinary, a little magic shows up. This is an example of a poem that's mostly about something ordinary and pleasant, but a little bit of magic and a little bit of shadow crept in, which just seems to be inevitable because I think the mind is very sneaky. It's called Siam House. It's about a restaurant that my partner and I used to go to a lot when we lived in Ann Arbor. We are waiting for a celebrity, a proposal, a stick-up, a fire alarm, a slap across the face, something to flash like tin or gold, like prize or harm, in the Thai cafe that looks and acts like the first in a row of old cottages. In fact, they are aspirations to boutique living in Carytown. They sport cute roofs and outdoor tables where humidity drinks and jokes, and rich and academic folk are dimly lit by fireflies, so complacent, so drunk on being admired, they don't stir from electric wire where they nap. Many shops have welcomed us. Few have turned us away. Why would they refuse our legal swag? This is because we can be selective in a way that, say, Ugandans can't. Yet there are those who would turn our cottages into torches. The first time we dined here, the waitress glided footless down from the wallpaper, chanting the menu, the wine list, and later her grandkids' names and grades, while our salivary glands decked themselves out for sticky rice and Thai iced tea. The cook, she looked like a man in her broad apron, coming from below decks, where the crew called her Doc, recanted her bad mood, and left the steam long enough to hear us shower her food with compliments, our gestures translated. We sat at the corner window, looking out at the path we had taken from our apartment on Fuller Street. Yet after we paid, tipped, thanked, bowed, opened the door to head back across the park and under the overpass that echoed like an obsession, you turned in the wrong direction. Now it's hard to believe there was a time when losing our way was harmless fun. Yet, though we haven't been there in years, and may never go back, I believe something will happen to us there, something wonderful. The waitress singing something wonderful, forgiving our favorite musical, reminding us that forgiveness always holds a tincture of blame. We won't know what it is, and will wonder how we look the same, yet feel so altered. The next poem is called The Forkerts. It's about the family next door when I was growing up, and particularly about Mrs. Forkert, who was a hoarder, and I became really interested in her, well, for a lot of reasons, but one thing is it seems like hoarders have a very bad image, but I think that character traits are only good or bad in relation to particular situations. And it struck me that the thing in her that made her never throw away newspapers also didn't let her ever throw away people. So she lived in the same house next to us, next to my parents for 50, 60 years, small town where she was very well connected, and yeah, she just did not throw people away. Forkerts. Backyard dyer splits firewood, man putting asunder, the soul's halves falling away from one another, each to a landing that suits it, to peace. The log's outrage reverberates from every house and garage, the neighborhood easy in its role as echo chamber. On her knees, weeding, Mom notices the rail splitter's frown and jocular comments, "They're making you work for your living," uncertain herself who she means by they. Dyer pulls off one glove as though to throw it down, wipes his brow backhanded, and says, "Married a pack rat," meaning Judy, who has filled his home, who keeps tabs on the Browning boy, who lost half his arm joyriding too close to a guy wire, who gets along but dreams the severed limb, co-stars in the Addams Family, the Hubbard girl, who succumbed to a seizure, alone in the rented symbol of her self-reliance, who lay on the linoleum, waiting for the wooden spoon she'd been stirring with to climb between her teeth and stop the invisible priest using her tongue for last rites. The Fitzgerald who took the cloth, his brother who drove the church from the temple, their sister who ran for mayor, their sister who survived an alcoholic car. The fox who went off to war and brought the battle back to the auto factory. Judy goes door to door till the last summer, when she has to receive visitors in the hospital. The first thing out of her mouth is always, "Tell me something new. Tell me everything that's new with you." The second funeral is harder than the first. It takes days, weeks, months. No unctuous professional helps. Every empty can in the larder, crippled redundant tools in the garage, packaging, magazines, gutted envelopes, all are uninvited. The whole attic is hauled to the landfill. There are rooms you can't walk into, rooms you have to strip away layer by layer. At the first funeral, you wear elegant black and people stand ready to wipe your tears. At the second, you wear your filthiest rags, and there's nothing to wipe but sweat, and no one but yourself to wipe it. This poem is called Focus/Falling. I wrote it when I was teaching myself about Billy Strayhorn. I grew up with the notion that all gay men before Stonewall lived lives weighed down with self-loathing and shame. And whenever I learn of cases of men who lived at that time but did not live in that fashion, and there were many, I'm delighted, and I like to find out as much as I can about those people. So Billy Strayhorn was one such man, and I became rather obsessed with him for a while. So he appears in a bunch of poems just kind of as a guiding figure. Casually, I put on Billy Strayhorn's black glasses. I bend over to tie my laces. The glasses land on the carpet with a seemingly meaningless pianissimo. Next month, Mike and I toast with non-alcoholic champagne our 20 years of helping and getting in each other's way. The day may fall like the small page of a "today is" calendar. Mike might scribble a fragment of proof on the reverse. I might plant a poetic blessing or curse. One of us might crumple and throw it playfully at the other's face. Remembering or forgetting could leave it glued in place for weeks. In May I turn 54. In October Mike will be 40. I bend to rescue a stray peanut. Our age difference falls from my chest and strikes the floor with a modest thud. Such a changeable fact. It bounces, it shatters, it rolls under the bed, it seeks asylum among dust wads and wayward socks. Hard to believe I was proud of it. Hard to believe it worried us. Will worry return, reliable as war, fickle as trust? Well into my 20s, I hung upside down from branches and horizontal bars whenever I had the chance. If I hung thus now, what would spill from my head but my recent obsession with Strayhorn and Ellington? Their music, our marriage. They were parted by 16, we by 14 years. One used the other glaringly, one subtly. One lived a long hypochondriac's life, One hummed through an early terminal cancer. There was an enterprise and a financier, a grabber and a shunner of acclaim. I stop writing, take off my reading glasses. Mike, as usual, is sleeping under his. I adore the yelp of distress when I lift the frames from his face, fold the temples, and lay his sight next to mine.